Ladies and gentlemen,
Right.
this week we're going to feature something interesting in the Witchcraft Act. And today our guest is Brian Kibet.
Brian Kibet is an LL.B. Candidate at University of Nairobi. He's also a trainee arbitrator with the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, that's the Kenyan branch. He has been published several in leading journals and magazines in Kenya. He has worked as a legal research with the Rights and Resilience in Kenya project, which aims to ensure secure and peaceful access to land for climate change adaptation and resilience in Kenya. For his works on community land, Kibet was awarded the prestigious C B Madan Award student in 2021 in the students category, to be precise. And it is also worth noting that we got the award together, so it's a delight. So over to you, Linus.
Congratulations to the both of you for all that. And also, by the way, Brian Kibet, congratulations for your article being featured on the platform. It's quite a big thing. Anyway, before we even go too far, I mean, why the Witchcraft Act?
I'm really thankful for the opportunity to share my article, which appeared first in the platform's issue in July 2021. That's when the article first appeared, and it was titled Exercising the Demons in the Witchcraft Act, Cap 67, and Call for Reforms. This paper was mainly triggered by the need for the legal scholars or thought leaders in the same, and I'm calling them to move away from the Beltway. From the Beltway as we know it, that from the Beltway, that law should move into the societies as we know them and try and help them in the problems that they face. One of these problems that is being faced across the country at the moment, we have an issue with the way in which we deal with witchcraft in the country. You'll notice that it is a highly prevalent practice. You'll notice that in the recent past, there have been killings in the country, particularly in Kilifi and also in Kisii and Nyamira counties. So how should the law respond to these particular killings? Does recourse lay within the penal code whereby these people should be sentenced for murder? Or should there be a specialized act that deals with these kinds of killings that would, in my view, offer stiffer penalties and maybe minimum sentences the way in which the Sexual Offences Acts in the other sector, that's in the people who have problems with sexual offenses. We also notice that in other areas, the witchcraft practitioners they're using a very manipulative and persuasive language, which is calling for more and more people to go and fly into their trade. So is there a need for the government to regulate this particular sector? Furthermore, there's also been an issue with there's a debate that is witchcraft replacing the work of the police in the country, because we have seen instances whereby people who have issues with property and they're calling on witchcraft. So all these issues you can see is catching at the top, at the very core of our societies. So there is need for people to think along those lines. And the last time in which they talked about it is around 1927 when he had the act. So I believe that it is time. It is time for us to think along those lines, and that's why I wrote that paper.
Yeah. I actually love how you tried to explain the whole Witchcraft Act in the article that you wrote in the platform. And the shocking thing is that even after a period of over 90 years, we haven't had this act being reviewed or reformed until you brought this issue to light. Just wondering, why do you reckon the government hasn't really taken much keen notice into this Witchcraft Act?
In my view, the government has not been keen to look into what exactly the way in which it can respond to the specific problems that arise due to witchcraft. And I'd say that I could offer two reasons. One, I believe that the legal system as it exists at the moment believes that most issues that arise within the realm of witchcraft are adequately covered within the other legal instruments which have been amended for quite some time. For example, with the issues to do with the killings, we can always go to the penal code and charge someone with murder. If it's something to do with the manipulation that a person goes through so that he goes and gives a witch doctor some money and the like so that is stolen or the like, there's always obtaining money by false pretenses, which can cover some of the salient features that exist within the Witchcraft Act. So that's one of the reasons. And secondly, I'd say that it's denial, because at the face of it, Kenya is around an 83% Christian society and around 11% Muslim, with only 1% of people being traditionalists. So in that view, or if you look at it along those lenses, it's not a very popular topic. And I don't think that a legislator would take his time and try and address that. So those would be my reasons.
And I hope the Kisses and Canvas and everyone else is listening. Anyway, we shall proceed. Usually all these placards and ads on the streets about daktari wa mitishamba and dawa ya mapenzi, dawa ya masomo, kila kitu. What do you think about this whole thing? I mean, why hasn't the government started taking measures on these simple ads that are on the street? Yet it's stated clearly on the constitution that anyone who even states or rather tries to claim to be having this so-called supernatural powers should actually be fined.
First of all, I'd say that if you look at other countries within Africa, such as Zambia, which have explicitly stated that this is a Christian nation, if you come to countries such as Kenya, they say that there is no state religion. That means that Kenya does not really concern itself as to whether you're Christian, traditionalist, or the like. And therefore, the state should not move ahead and try and impose on the people on what their beliefs should be. So if you look at the wording of the Witchcraft Act, particularly if you look at places such as Section 3, it says that witchcraft is the so-called. If you look at Section 4, it says that witchcraft is pretended knowledge. So all these things that we see on our streets, along our power lines, I think that's their most preferred place whereby they put them. The power lines, the telephone posts, if they exist, and the like. You will notice that some of these things are not really, I wouldn't say that it is a way of imposing other people's beliefs on others, but I'd look at it more as a visible, as a feasible or prima facie evidence that something is running behind what we try as a society to say that they do not exist. Yet in real sense, it's happening, and there is need for us to look into them and try and address the issues with whether they are going to be regulated or they are going to operate along the sidelines, causing problems and the like.
As you stated, that there have been instances of lynching of elderly men and women in Kisii and Nyamira counties for allegedly practicing witchcraft. The big question is, don't these people have rights? And is suspect lynching and killing punishable by law? What's your take on that?
Unfortunately, it's unfortunate for people to be hunted down because they are practicing witchcraft and the like. And it's very unfortunate that there is no, at least there is no aggravated punishment for individuals who engage that. If you look at countries such as, I believe, I think it's the South African Act. In South Africa, you see, those people who are moving around and suspecting people that these are the people who are practicing witchcraft actually have a name. These are the people we describe as witchfinders. If you look at places such as South Africa, if you accuse an individual of practicing witchcraft, you attract a maximum jail sentence of around 10 years. But that's if you do not have a history or a past of being a witch finder. But if you have such a history that you are known within your community, that you've been moving around from place to place looking for who is a witch in this area, a witch finder. For example, in the Kisii case, you saw that guy who chopped the grandmother's head off to some site. So in such a case, such an individual within the South African Act would have almost this sentence doubled from the ordinary person who would engage in such an act. So you can see to it that in the event that you are able to, you are in a position to impose stiffer penalties on individuals who practice, who are actually, or are taking upon themselves to move around our villages looking for witches to kill and the like, then I believe that these things are the cases are going to drop, and everyone is going to enjoy his rights, for example, the right to life as provided for in our constitution.
Okay, that is very well from your end. And in your article, you talked about there is need to redefine what constitutes witchcraft. Why do you think it's so, and what do you think will be a wholesome definition of the term witchcraft?
First and foremost, it's unfortunate. I'd say that I argue or I say that there is need to define witchcraft because the act in itself claims that it is trying to regulate something that it does not define in the first place. So in the event that I proceed to section 2, section 3, 4, 5, and I'm encountering this particular word all over the place, then what is it? What does it mean? If you look at the standard, acts of parliament that have been passed in the recent past, section 2 is normally dedicated to a glossary of terms that have been used in that particular act, which is not the case over here. So I say that there is need for us to define the same, and I'd say that witchcraft, in my view, would constitute defining it as it has been defined within our local context and the way in which we look at it. For example, we say that it could be cultic. Could say that it is. Some of them have been passed from maybe some say that theirs is innate or it's been passed directly through birth. So some of them say it can be bought. There are people who say that you can actually acquire from someone else as a skill, as an apprentice. There are those who say that it is divine. There are those who say that. So all these factors have to be put into consideration when defining witchcraft, and which calls for me, in my view, I wouldn't be quick to run and say that this is the most appropriate definition. I believe that it will need to be a people-centered approach whereby there will be need to go all the way to some of these places where it is known that it is prevalent and ask the people, what is it really for you? What is witchcraft to you? What is witchcraft in somewhere like the coast? What is witchcraft in Machakos? And what is witchcraft here in Nairobi today? So when the moment we have all these factors into consideration is when I believe Kenya will have its conclusive and definition of witchcraft, which will always be developed both by scholars and by the judicial officers in the times to come.
Okay, getting on to my last question. From your article, there's this general view that comes to play to the effect that how does witchcraft infringes on the rights of individuals to practice their beliefs?
I would say it's actually an argument I developed from one of the sections within the act that criminalizes the wearing of ornaments. And you'll notice that Article 8 is aside to be clear, or it stipulates that there is no state religion in the Republic of Kenya. And if you look at Article 11, and the reading of it says that the culture, it recognizes culture as the foundation of the nation. So looking at the diversity of our cultures within the country, you will notice that some of our cultures really hold some, what I'd call, what might not be popular or what might not be the common ways of people living or doing their things. And the Witchcraft Act criminalizes the wearing of ornaments that some people might find offensive. So what is this that offends you so much that is criminalized, yet in real sense you could be, for example, adorning a pendant that maybe has some funny thing as its pendant. So if I walk along the streets of Nairobi, people will be like, this guy is, whatever he's wearing is offensive to myself and he should be arrested. He's causing a public disturbance. But in real sense, I'm trying to enjoy my culture. So where do we find the balance? Is this a point in case whereby the law ought to be silent at the moment? Is this a point whereby you're supposed to discard and say that, look, let's leave that alone at least for the moment, because there is a high likelihood of an individual getting arrested and being charged with this particular offense, yet in real sense was just exercising his own culture. So in a way, I'd say that there's an element that that particular section of the Witchcraft Act offends Article 11 and Article 8 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010.
Okay, very well. That is it from my end, Linus.
Yeah, Brian Kibet, thank you very much for having shown up. I actually like the idea that you brought on board about how it's high time that the law actually got down to our society, like the law started solving issues of the society itself, something like the witchcraft or night running. Thank you very much, Brian Kibet, for taking your time. And yeah, for the good work you're doing to push forward on the Witchcraft Act. So yeah, I think I'd hire you. Matter of fact, I'd give you a sign-up bonus if I was working for a firm. But yeah,
Asante sana. It was great having this conversation with you people. And I'm happy for the adventure that you provided for me. Thank you.